Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're enjoying the practical insights taken away from the previous session. Next up, moderating our panel is the founder of the fastest growing startup in the world-renowned World Heritage Site, Stonehenge. Give it up for James Mawson.
Thanks, Elliot, for that. For those who don't necessarily know Stonehenge, it's basically a desert of wasteland of grassy plains with some beautiful archaeological sites of big rocks. But there aren't that many tech centers. More seriously, though, we're a global publishing company. We track how corporations invest in startups, such as all these people here. And we've noticed that over the past few years, there's been about an increase in corporates who are interested in engaging and working with the entrepreneurs. So last year, corporations invested in more than 2,000 startups. The value of the rounds was about $109 billion. So if you think about that in terms of the overall venture ecosystem, what that means is that corporations were involved in about 2/3 of deals by value, but about 1/5 by volume. So they're really important, they're increasingly active, and they really want to find ways to work with the entrepreneurs. So this panel today will really be exciting, and it will bring the insights both from an entrepreneur's perspective, how he's been hugging the 800-pound gorilla of the corporation, as well as two corporate venture leaders. So first up, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Scott. Come on stage and give us a quick insight from Deloitte Ventures.
Good afternoon. Let me start with a story of the economy which is close to my heart with my accent, which is the UK economy. Taking an innovative idea and giving it into economic productivity is about the secret of what we do in economies. And so you have an idea, you turn it into a commercially viable proposition, and then you turn that into productivity. In the UK, we are about #1 in the world at coming up with good ideas. We fall to 14th in the world at turning them into commercially viable propositions, and then we go back up a bit to 10th. If I take that out, I look at the productivity paradox, which is going on at the moment. Innovation in technology is going through the roof, but productivity in economies and big businesses is staying about flat. So at Deloitte Ventures, what we try and do is, for Deloitte itself, we try and build the future by disrupting and taking corporate venture activities. But I also work with our clients to understand, how do I reverse that paradox? How do we take on new technologies, but actually change the mindset of leadership? And then where do we focus and experiment to make that successful? So I'll be the panelist sat in between the venture capital and the ventures and the corporation, so I can give a view from both sides. So I look forward to speaking to all you from the panel. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Scott. Next up, can we invite Quinn Lee from Qualcomm Ventures? Quinn. Good to see you, Quinn. Thanks for coming. You stay in front. Knock it out, man.
Good afternoon, everybody. So very happy to be here. So my name is Quinn Lee. I run Qualcomm Ventures. We're the corporate venture arm for Qualcomm. I'm based out of San Diego. We've been investing in the broader wireless mobile ecosystem for the last 18 years. So currently we have a portfolio of about 150 companies globally in 7 different regions around the world, in US, China, India, Europe, Israel, Latin America, as well as Korea. We've had be very fortunate in many of the companies we invested in. We had $8 billion exits over the last 8 years. Most recently, we had 2 exits. One was a company called Ring, which was bought by Amazon for $1 billion plus, and also a company in Brazil called 99, which was acquired by a ride-sharing company in China called Didi. So very fortunate to be able to work with very, very exciting opportunities across the world in the last 18 years. And the key area of focus for us are in mobile, IoT, automotive, and we look for breakthrough technologies, great entrepreneurs, attacking markets with a real problem they're trying to solve. And we help the companies grow their business, both in their local markets, leveraging the broader Qualcomm network, as well as our global presence and global reach. So both from a technology standpoint, from a market development point, from an international expansion standpoint, we're trying to add as much value as we can to all the companies and entrepreneurs we invest in. So great to be here. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Quinn. And finally, can I invite to the stage someone who I think for everyone here is probably really interested. If only 1% of companies raise venture funding, only 12% of those then go on for successful positive exits. One of these, can I invite to the stage Doug Kaufman from TransLoc, please. You're the rock star, man. Welcome up. Great to have you.
Thank you. I'm not sure I'm worthy of that introduction, but I appreciate it. Can you hear me in the back? You can? Okay, fantastic. So I am Doug Kaufman. I am the CEO of TransLoc. At TransLoc, what we do is we build technology that enables transit agencies to deliver great experiences to riders, including turning transit vehicles, buses, vans, et cetera, into on-demand vehicles. So kind of like Uber and Lyft. You press a button, and a transit agency vehicle comes and picks you up. And then we actually tie together those vehicles with fixed route buses, trains, Uber, Lyft, bike share, car share, you name it, to create one seamless mobility experience for you, the rider. So we were founded in 2004. We were bootstrapped until 2016 when we raised our A round, one and only round. And then in January of this year, we were acquired by Ford. So I'm very happy to be here today. I think this is going to be a great panel. Hopefully I'm able to hold my own with these other panelists. Happy to be here and talk to you in just a minute.
Great. Well, please, I'm super excited. Take a seat, Doug. But I'll kick off. First question. I'll start off with Scott and Quinn. Everyone seems to nowadays want to be a venture investor. How does it work being a corporate venture investor? What's the most satisfying part of the job from your perspective? Start with Scott, Quinn, then go to you.
Most satisfying part. I can say that if I start with the opposite, there's a lot of frustrating parts to the job. So
that's very British, yeah.
There's a bit, yeah. If I have to start with the negative, you know that, James. There's a cultural mindset thing that has to change. So the challenge we have is that corporate venturing is now fashionable, and almost everyone has it. You know, everyone is a venture investor. Some do it because they love venture investing, and some do it to actually obtain the actual goal for the corporate. What I will say, though, on the most pleasing side is that when I see the executives' mindset change and they realize the future and what it holds without a crisis occurring, that for me is the most exciting part, is when I change someone's mindset, which is a non-trivial thing to do.
Well, that's a great way of putting it. Quinn?
I don't have any frustrating part, and it's hard to...
I can see why you're in the Valley and
Just
you're
me,
in the UK.
Yeah, come to London.
But I would say the most rewarding or exciting part to be a venture investor is the journey you have with the companies you're investing. So, for example, in '99, was a company started in Brazil, and we invested very early in the seed stage, and see that company execute their business, grow over time. And there is scary moments along the way because Uber was competing with them in Brazil, so it's a lot of competition, but see them grow the business and really, really grow to be a big company, and then eventually, got bought by Didi. That whole journey, from the beginning, through challenges along the way, to a great exit is extremely rewarding from an investor standpoint.
That's a great way of putting it, Quinn. But what about yourself, Doug? You've done everything from serial entrepreneur, you bootstrapped yourself, raised venture, the exits, you're now inside a big corporation. What's been the satisfying part from your point of view?
Yeah, so for me as an entrepreneur, what is most satisfying in addition to building something, I love building and building businesses, we're a very mission-based company, right? If you think about transportation, the connection transportation has to things like your personal economic well-being, your ability to put food on the table. And then you read stories about people that sit on a bus 3 hours each way to a minimum wage job because they can't afford a car. That experience is so shitty. We can change people's lives very quickly by changing that experience. Yeah. And so for me personally, building things that help people improve their lives in a tangible way is the most satisfying thing.
That's a great way of putting it. I mean, if I think about the entrepreneur, the classic is that they've got 5 needs, haven't they? They're looking for capital, they're looking for customers, product development, they maybe think about how to hire people, and then eventually at some point an exit. You've done the exit bit, but how do you think about what you would have wanted from the investors? What sort of things were most important to you at different times? How do you think about that equation? And then I'll ask Quinn and Scott, what do you offer to the people like Doug?
Oh, it's a great question, and it's more important than I think many young entrepreneurs understand. So I've had boards and investors that are so terrible you can't even believe the things that happen. And then my previous now investors and board were everything you would want. They were incredibly supportive. I mean, we had a pretty big change in focus 6 months after we raised money, and I said, hey, remember all that stuff we said we were going to do? We're not going to do any of it, and we're not going to make all the money I said. We're going to go in this other direction. That's how CEOs get fired. But they bought into it, they supported me, and then when it came time for the acquisition, they came together like an amazing team to help make this deal happen. So they more than earned their money during that acquisition process, for sure.
That's a great way of putting it. Quinn, what do you think about how you offer to help? You described a seed company and seeing it grow and blossom, but tangibly, what do you do to help?
Yeah, I think there's a few dimensions that we help the portfolio companies. Given that we're a wireless technology supplier, so we have strong domain expertise in wireless and mobile technology. So one of the companies we invest in is the retail space called Retail Next. So they use video sensors, data from stores, from a variety of sensors, to basically track shopper analytics in physical retail stores. So initially, they were relying on third party for the video camera they were using, and we worked with them closely to basically build a camera that's being deployed in physical retail stores today. And if you look inside the camera, it's really the guts of a smartphone, right? It's got GPU capability, CPU capability, the computer vision algorithm that's all running locally in this device that's installed in the ceiling of retail stores. So I think that's one of the things we provide portfolio companies, really the technology know-how to help them select the right technology to use in a product.
Great. Scott?
So James, we invest exclusively in business-to-business technology. So what we do of the 5 is 2. So the access to the customer. In a big corporation, that's extremely hard to do, and a lot of companies run out of cash trying to get into the right person. And the second bit is product development, but truly innovative offerings into a business often cut across buyers. And so helping educate the portfolio companies about how you break down those silos and get an answer of yes, those are the 2 main things. So customers and sort of speed to decision making, which in a B2B world is everything.
Yeah. Perfect. I mean, the title of this panel is called Hugging the 800-Pound Gorilla. There's definitely that mismatch between a large corporation with the processes, who know what they want, they like what they want, and a startup who are trying to be nimble and do that sort of thing. But ultimately, Doug, you are now inside the corporation, really hugging them. How do you think about what processes of exit helped to get to that exit? And now you're inside, how do you think about integrating with such a big gorilla?
Yeah, so during the acquisition process, and before you even got into diligence, you have to make sure that there's really clear alignment between the acquiring company's vision and your vision, and you have to believe them, right? And you've got to make sure they're believable. But once you're in, and we just closed in January, so it's very new to us. It was shocking to me. I mean, I've had other exits, but never to a Fortune 10 company that has 200,000 employees. It has been shocking to me how fast things change, and how much a company can impose, good or bad, on your startup. And there's a lot of good to it, but it happens very quickly, and you as the CEO have to really take as much control as you can to work with them, collaborate with them, but not let them kind of overrun your company. And fortunately, and then I'll cut this off, but very fortunately for us, Ford is new to the mobility space, the technology space, and they recognize that we've built technology, and so they're very happy to lean on us for guidance, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. But that openness is very important, and we knew that going in. They told us it would be like that.
Yeah, if I follow on for that sort of openness within a corporation, how much do you think, from a corporate venture capital perspective, you help change that culture to give them that openness, to then be open to the exits, the acquisitions in their case? So if I take Scott and Quinn, how much are you trying to change the internal culture as well as go outside to find those entrepreneurs? Scott, I'll start with you. You nodded, so we'll pick that up.
I think it's the whole ballgame, right? If you're going to be in a corporate venturing world, you have to connect up all your innovation activities around your corporate. And the mindset of leadership, the mantra I use, if you change nothing, nothing will change. And I don't think that's well understood enough. If Doug and I were chatting earlier, that there are ingrained cultures in organizations which they find hard to let go, like what car they might make you drive, as we were chatting earlier, as soon as you've been acquired. There are little things like that. It's everything. And just that paradox of innovation versus productivity is entirely culturally driven. I think I was saying to you earlier that a survey we did is 30% of Asia-Pac execs are ready to adopt new technology in their business. And in the West, in the UK and in America, that's only 15%. And that is a huge difference. And that is something which I think will shape the pace of productivity change in economies.
Quinn, what about yourself? What about Qualcomm, big company?
Yeah, so we're a very technology-driven company ourselves, but we're known for develop technology for mobile smartphone industry, right? So what we're trying to do is, how do we leverage the technology we develop for the mobile industry and leverage that for different verticals, autonomous cars, IoT, Internet of Things, right? So there's a lot of innovation happening in the marketplace, and there's still, inside the company, I call it NIH, not invented here, syndrome, right? So what we're trying to do is we expose the broader corporation. What are the innovations happening in Silicon Valley, in New Orleans, in Europe, all over the world, right? Expose these startups, expose these ideas to not just our exec team, but across the company as well, to see what other people are building and are there partnership opportunities we can have. And not every company that comes to us, we invest in, but a lot of time we serve as the bridge to bridge a connection between the startup and the corporation and the product group. And some, we're investing, but some we're just serving as the conduit for the big corporation.
Great. Well, it's perfect. We're down to the final minute, so think of this like Twitter. But we've got a great group of entrepreneurs who are all trying to come up with things that could help. If you have one pain point that you're looking for someone to help with, can you just give a quick shout out? Anything that people say, you know what, we're dealing with this. Anyone got some good ideas? Anyone open to?
I will say, if you are an entrepreneur, one of the keys is to never, ever quit. Now, this doesn't mean if your idea is fatally flawed and all the metrics are saying you're in a death spiral, you should hold on for life. No. But many times, entrepreneurs find success right after they felt like they needed to quit and they just hung in there a little longer. So hang in there.
Great advice. But any pain points, anything that you're working on that you want someone to help you with? Quinn or Scott? Otherwise, we'll wrap up on time.
Yeah, I would say advice for entrepreneurs, you want to create a solution to a real problem that customer have, right? You really got to find, it's not technology looking for a problem to solve, but really finding a marketplace or an opportunity, there's a real pain point in the marketplace, and develop a solution for that, and that's going to be the basis for the company.
And from me, one thing, data migration. If you can speed that up in business to business world and make that seamless, that will make you a lot of money.
That's a great advice. Perfect. Please join me in thanking the great panelists. Wonderful.